Hello and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is an amazing way for you to create and preserve more wealth, defer millions of tax on the sale of cryptocurrency, businesses, real estate, so you can create and preserve more wealth or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. Hey, we're also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets as well, where we talk about commercial real estate, we talk about investing, passive income, and building your brokerage business. So I want to welcome all of our listeners there as well. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He is the founder of 24/7 Cashflow University, and his mission and the mission of the university is to teach students how to create passive income and escape their 9-to-5 desk job. Through his 100 Key Money Masterclass, he teaches students how to full gut renovate, acquire, and stabilize cash flowing rental property portfolios. This course contains proven methods that allowed him to scale his operation from one deal to over 100 properties per year, and so much more. He's a CFP. He worked with Bridgewater and Associates, not Ray Dalio, but another amazing group that managed ultra high net worth folks out of New York and the greater Northeast and other places. Please welcome to the show with me out of New York, Brian Grimes. Brian, how we doing?
Doing great. I really appreciate the intro. I feel like running out and slam dunking on somebody. I really appreciate it.
I like that. By the way, I just watched a new 30 for 30 on. It was like, I forgot what the name of it was, but they talked about all the basketball in New York and the history. I played basketball growing up, played in college, and I didn't know all the history of it. Oh, it was the and one. It was like the history of like and one. Have you seen that? Have you seen that yet?
I haven't seen it, but there's definitely a lot of like street ball history between Philly and New York, for sure.
Absolutely, and so we can talk about that more, but let's dive right in a little bit to your story and your focus. So for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, tell us a little bit more about your story and your focus.
Yeah, my story is, I'm also a Philly basketball guy. Grew up under that Allen Iverson era, way back when. Grew to be about 6'5" by the age of 13, 14. Was nationally recruited. My first high school game, they flew us out to Akron, Ohio, to play a guy named LeBron James at University of Akron. Sold out crowd. So basketball kind of took me around the world, took me around the country, and landed me ultimately at Columbia University, where I got exposed to some really incredible mentors, some former athletes that were doing things like trading options at the New York Mercantile Exchange, managing money for millionaires, doing commercial real estate deals with the likes of Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, Magic Johnson, and these people just transformed the way that I think and that I thought about sports, life, making money, and they kind of shaped my thinking to the point where I realized, you can make more money with your mind than you ever could with your body. So I took a lot of those principles. As soon as I got out of college, I went into financial planning, managing money for people, learning as much as I could about wealth. And every dime I made, every dollar I made, I put it into real estate.
Amazing. Absolutely love it. Oh my gosh. So I'm a huge LeBron James fan. In fact, I have a bunch of family from Akron. It's just funny. I got like 500 relatives that I've never met.
Wow.
I've never been to Ohio, but apparently there's like 500 Swarts out there. SWRTZ. It's my mom's maiden name, and they're in Akron. And my great grandfather ran a Goodyear tires. He was a store or manager. Had a franchise there. Anyway, so that is so amazing. Wow. Awesome, and then your love for finance and numbers, and then diving into real estate. That's very cool. Before we dive into, by the way, what we're talking about today is revitalizing Class C neighborhoods, and you can find more about Brian Grimes, CFP, by going to 247cashflowuniversity.com, 247cashflowuniversity.com. He also got a cool YouTube channel. You can find it, Brian Loves Cashflow. That's YouTube, Brian Loves Cashflow. But before we dive into that, Brian, I believe you've all been given certain gifts in this life. I don't want you to go back to your high school days and, you're playing the sports, but maybe there was a teacher, maybe there's a coach, and it was a parent, right, who spoke some life into you and said, hey, Brian, I think you really, you have this strength, you have this gift, So what would you say, is that one gift or strength that you believe you've been given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
I think it's two strengths for some, and I find all these things like odd, right? Those people that reach out and kind of touch you at different points in your life. When I was a sophomore, I mean, coming into high school, I got recruited to like a top prep school. So I'm coming out of like, you know, the C-class neighborhood in Philly where I grew up, all black Catholic school, where the education level, it's good, it's better than public school, but it's not at this level of like the elite private school. So I get pulled in and I'm struggling the first year. I get the hang of it the second year, and I'm kind of rocking and rolling my sophomore year. And I'm a basketball, player by nature. This is what I do. This is what I love. And a teacher kind of taps me and says, "Listen, I think you should run for class officer." And I'm just thinking, what? Why me? And he's like, "Well, I see you at the free throw line, and you're pretty confident out there. I hear you speak in class, and I think you'd be a good speaker." So he kind of tapped me to do that, and I ran with it. I was class officer junior and senior year, and a lot of the skills that I developed there, just speaking, being comfortable speaking in front of people, to people, it was a big part of me becoming a financial planner and having that confidence to break down complex messages and deliver it to other people, whether they be moms and pops or multimillionaires. So that's definitely a skill set that I picked up there. And then just working, I'm pretty multifaceted. I took my sports attitude and applied it to finance, which is kind of a fearlessness. Coming out of college, you become a financial planner. It's not all rosy, right? You're 100% commission. You're cold calling attorneys. You're getting cursed out on the phone. And at some point, you're going to fail, which there's like a 90% failure rate in that industry, or you're going to succeed. I was one of the 10%. And when you survive that, you get what we call like rhino skin. Like your skin just becomes 12 inches thick. A bullet couldn't penetrate it. And you get a general fearlessness from going through that type of experience. So having that, working at the high net worth firm, I've worked at startups before. Everywhere that I would work, I would keep this fearlessness with me. And I would only go there to work somewhere if I could learn from the people. So when I worked at the high net worth firm, I was learning about the founders of that firm and how they put it together, how they created it, how they built their business, which was extremely organic, and they had a partnership. Then when I worked at a startup, Policy Genius, I was employee number 23. I think they're up to maybe 600 or 700 now. They're an insurance startup. They sell insurance all across the country, direct to consumer, all over the internet. When I was there, I started to learn what's underneath the hood of a company. What is the engineer team doing? What is the marketing team doing? I was working and kind of running the call center, the agents, and just pounding the phones and training people and doing all of that stuff, but also learning and networking with the other people and really figuring out, what goes on behind a business. And I was taking all of those things and applying it to real estate constantly. So I'm a person that no matter what I'm doing, I would call myself like a serial entrepreneur and fiercely independent, which is why I created this 24/7 Cash Flow University for people who are also looking for that. They're looking to break away. They're looking to be their own boss and have that independence and control over their life and their income.
Amazing, Brian. I love all of it. I'm inspired and I'm pumped up too. Now I'm ready to go dunk a basketball. By the way, in my day, just so you guys know, I could dunk a basketball. Now I had to be warmed up. Okay. I'm a 6-foot white guy, had to be warmed up. I had to be like, in the flow. And then I blew my ACL out. And this is sophomore year of college. And then I knew I was back when I could dunk again. It took me into a medical red shirt and then I could dunk again. Anyways, I don't know about that. Brian, oh my gosh, so much there. So communication and the fearlessness. I love the 100% commission, sink or swim,
Yeah.
and developing that rhino skin, and then taking what's complex and trying making it simple and helping people create and preserve more wealth. All of that is amazing. So now let's apply that to our topic at hand, which is revitalizing Class C neighborhoods. So Brian, what's the number one secret to revitalizing Class C neighborhoods?
I think the number one secret, not only to C-class neighborhoods, but we see it more in the C-class than you really have to experience in the B and A class. It's picking winners. So when you're in real estate, we all think about like HGTV. We're going to go out and build houses. We're going to full gut renovate, and we're going to focus on development. But what we really don't focus on right now, in my opinion, is picking winners. Whether you're doing commercial real estate, residential real estate, if you were renting out a shopping center, you need to pick a good tenant. And the way that we underwrite today is antiquated, right? We're still just assuming that people are their credit score. And that's about as far as it goes. But people are more than their credit score. And when you get into the C-class neighborhoods and almost everyone has bad credit, now you have to get a bit craftier. You have to get into personality testing. You have to get into durability, and is their job recession proof? You have to get into different levels of underwriting. Like I recently had a tenant in a C-class neighborhood of Baltimore who moved in. They paid the first month, last month security. They might have had like a 550 credit score. They ended up paying 5 months in advance the next month. I got to check 5 months in advance. There are people in A-class, rental property game that don't get that. They don't have that happen like ever. So the question becomes, well, how do I pick people like that? So I focus a lot of my attention on that long-term monetization, mostly now because, I've done over 300 full gut renovations. So some of that becomes easier and more like riding a bike. But the ability to pick winners is so important when you're in the C-class neighborhood. You have to learn how to underwrite. You have to learn how to pick good people who will pay on time and over the duration of recessions and the different things that our country faces.
Perfect. So picking winners, making sure that, and the winners being the tenants, right? And making sure you're understanding
Definitely.
the full story, right? And beyond just the credit score, the job durability, your personality test, get even more detailed and more intimate with your tenants. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a fair summary, and I think that's the most important. Outside of that, I mean, I having grown up in the C class, I have a bit of an advantage, right? So one of my mentors, who was on the commercial real estate side of things, he gave me a principle when I was just getting started. He said, "Look, you want to get into real estate? I see you're kind of just bent on it. Like you're not gonna, no matter what we say, you're just gonna go head first into this thing. So here's the principle I want you to have: buy where you know, rent to who you know, and you'll always be successful." And what I took that to mean was buy in neighborhoods that are familiar to you. They could either be the exact one, like your backyard where you grew up, or a neighborhood that's similar to that, that has characteristics of that. Rent to people who are from a walk of life that you're at now or that you came from, because you're going to be able to understand them, what makes them tick, what problems they face, what they're going through. You're going to be able to work with them better. And if you do those two things, you'll always be successful. And I found that to be the best principle in real estate. So if you grew up in, the suburbs, you might have a lot of success there. There are some people also who look and they say, "Brian, should I invest in like mobile homes?" And I say, "Well, what do you know about mobile homes or the people, the clientele of mobile homes? Do you know anything about that walk of life?" And if you don't, you're going to have a very tough time managing that asset unless you get the proper mentorship from somebody who is familiar and who has walked that path and can understand what makes those types of tenants tick. So it's really just finding your pocket and then going to it. And when it comes to C class, I'm somebody who's going to Columbia University, who's managed money for millionaires, and who has that acumen to deal, with the lenders and get on the phone and negotiate different contracts and do all of those things. But also I can get, down into these neighborhoods and really turn them around as well.
Amazing. I love the way you put that. Uh, Buy where you know, rent to people and or have been in your shoes, or you've been in their shoes, and it makes sense. There's a saying that goes, "Don't be the how, hire the who," right? And it's almost like don't yeah. It's almost like don't buy real estate and try to figure out how to do that, or how to be a mobile home park investor, or how to do that per se. Now, I mean, you get a partner with you, right? And you take on like the financial side of things and the strategies things and the broker relationships and the raising the capital side and negotiate with lenders and all that. And then they're the operations on the ground because they can manage that. So I don't think Brian's not saying that, but what he's saying is, hey, if you're going to start with where you've been or location you already know, and then start with the people that you know and serve. Is that a fair summary?
Very fair. You gotta start with what you know, and if you do that, you'll be successful. Because then when things go wrong, you're gonna know exactly the type of people you're dealing with. You're gonna be able to operate and navigate within your environment a lot better than if you're like a fish out of water and you don't even understand this environment to begin with. That's gonna be a recipe for disaster for most people.
Fantastic. By the way, you can learn more about and find Brian Grimes on YouTube by going to Brian loves cash flow. Brian loves cash flow. Very cool, Brian. So those are the first two secrets. Any other secrets that you want to add to the secret to revitalizing Class C neighborhoods?
I think it really, it comes down to just understanding the relationship between all of these things. Like, a lot of us will look at C class neighborhoods and say, well, there's crime there, I don't want to go there, or there's a lot of blight, or what happens, there could be a break-in. All of these things are solvable. I've solved them all out, over the course of probably the first 100 deals, right? And there are different systems that you can put in place to solve out all these issues. And by the way, the break-ins will happen kind of anywhere. I've done deals in the A class, B class, and C class. The same issues will kind of apply. What you'll find in the C class is that the profits, if once you learn how to navigate it, the profits are just through the roof. Like, from a cap rate standpoint, you're talking like 11% return, 12% return, 12 caps, 11 caps all day in a lot of these neighborhoods, where you're not going to see that in the A class. Maybe you're like a 4-5 cap. So your profitability can go through the roof. You're also able to buy these properties at a value that is below the inherent value of the structure, right? So what do I mean by that? If I can go into a city like Philly, sixth largest city in America, and I can buy a shell for 30K, what's the actual cost to build a shell, to build those bricks, to tap into the utility lines, to just have the shell? Even if I gut out the full interior, it's almost 90 to 100K. If you wanted to buy a land lot and try to just rebuild the shell, it might even be more than 100K right now with the way materials and labor have been going. So when you're doing that type of a heavy burr strategy, where you're going and buying the blight and turning the community around, restoring community pride, hiring local contractors, putting money back into the community, and that money starts bouncing in the community, which, if you know about money bouncing and circulating, the power of that, I mean, these are things that really transform neighborhoods, especially when you can go in and do 100 deals in a year within a pocket, within a couple of zip codes. So when you're doing that heavy burst strategy, buying low, building at a developer spread. So what that means is, I can buy it for 30 to 50,000. It's worth 250,000 of after repair value when I'm done with it. So I have like a $200,000 developer spread, and I can build those properties for like 100K. So I buy it for 30, put 100K in, it's worth 250. I do a cash out refi, put 30, $40,000 in my pocket, recycle that capital, do it again, and collect cash flow and get big bonus depreciation and big tax write-offs. That's just a recipe for you making a lot of money, you moving people back into the neighborhoods, getting rid of blight, putting bodies back in, putting people and families back into the neighborhood. It just transforms things. I've seen. So it's been a labor of love. I could go and flip properties in the A class neighborhood. I got access to over 150 contractors, some of the best contractors in most of these cities. I can go in the A class and flip and do all that stuff, right? But it has to mesh for me with what I love and who I love to help, and my ultimate mission, which is to not only revitalize these neighborhoods, but to build other people into me. Because even, with what I've been able to do over the course of the last 5 years to maybe a decade, I could only do 300 properties in that time, right? I need other people out there who can do this, because these neighborhoods were built in 1910, 1915. Almost all of the properties are over 100 years old. They're falling apart. We need more developers, more people to get in on this action, so we can keep turning these neighborhoods around and make the C class into the B and A class. Be a part of that transformation.
Amazing. I love the mission behind it. I love the values. I love the heart you have behind it. And by the way, you can find more about Brian by going on YouTube. Brian Loves Cash Flow. Brian Loves Cash Flow. Subscribe, give him some support. Check it out. And maybe join his 24/7 Cash Flow University by going to 247cashflowuniversity.com to get educated, so that you can start helping more people revitalize communities, buy. And I love that you talked about tax, baby. And we're going to shift the conversation a little bit here, right? Because we're all about, here in Taxafornia, even in Philly, even in New York, right? There's some heavy tax, right? And so I'm curious, what's been the biggest frustration maybe for you and our clients, family, or investors when it comes to the 1031 exchange? Like, what comes to mind? What's some of the frustrations that kind of come to mind on that?
I mean, I haven't had with the bird strategy. I haven't had too much trouble because of the bonus depreciation rules that are out there. So with the heavy bird strategy deals, I've actually been able to take advantage of this bonus depreciation and get massive write-offs with this strategy. So um, once you do your cost segregation analysis and you start breaking down this property between 30 year or well 27 and a half year, 15 year, 10 year, and some 5 year itemization, you can get a lot of those deductions accelerated into year one or years 1 through 5. And when you're doing that and going out and doing, let's call it even 10 to 20 deals a year, you're probably going to generate enough tax losses that you could write off your spouses. If your spouse is like a W-2, you could write off like 100% of that, especially if you're a real estate professional. So I haven't had too much trouble with the 1031 because I usually don't sell. I usually buy and hold and do like a self flip through the burst strategy. So I haven't experienced a ton of frustration there, but I've been pleasantly surprised by the real bang for your buck on bonus depreciation and the burst strategy and just buying and holding. And I feel like people don't talk about that enough. There are a lot of people out there that talk about like subject to and some of these different investment strategies. I mean, everybody has a strategy these days, and I am pretty strategy agnostic in that sense. I teach all these strategies, even subject to lease purchase options, land contracts, all of it. But the BRRRR strategy, when it comes to taxes, is one of the most efficient ways to invest, and just keep cash flow coming in, keep your ghost depreciation, your 27 and a half year straight line stuff as well. So it's just been phenomenal from a tax standpoint.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, cost seg, and if you never sell, right? Guess what? The capital gains tax doesn't come due, and so you can get bonus depreciation. By the way, 2022 the last year for 100%. Next year it goes down to 80%. And it starts to kind of phase out over the years, but hopefully they renew some of that and get it going. And real estate professional, for those that are wondering, basically you're spending over 750 hours basically managing or operating or like active in your own personal real estate deals. That's how you can you can qualify. Talk to your CPA, make sure on that. It doesn't mean you have to get like a real estate license for those that are wondering. It just means that you're seen as per the IRS's rules on that. So look that up as far as a real estate professional. And then, and then again, cost seg. Cost segs are an amazing way to accelerate what normally is like 27 and a half years for residential or 39 years for commercial properties into smaller chunks of years so you can get the tax write-off now and then use the time value of money. So those are all things. By the way, but if you are struggling with the 1031 exchange and you're wondering if there's another way to do this, you can actually save a failed 1031 exchange. You can sell cryptocurrency, businesses, real estate using something called a Deferred Sales Trust. We're experts in this, and we want you to know about this so you never feel trapped to not sell. Because at some point, Brian's going to want to play some more basketball. He's going to want to travel some more. He's going to YouTube superstar, right? And he's going to be like, man, I got another call. At some point, he might exit these hundreds of properties and have this huge tax and then this huge depreciation recapture that's going to catch up with him. But then he's going to go, you know what? There's a solution that's beyond the 1031, and I have to sell individual properties all at once. And it's called a Deferred Sales Trust. I remember Brett telling me on that podcast. And so you want to know about this so that when you do go to exit, you have a plan. Because here's why. 25% to 50% of your gain is going to be wiped out by capital gains tax and depreciation recapture. So with the Deferred Sales Trust, you can defer all that. Here's the next best part. You can diversify the wealth into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, hard money lending, ground up development. You can also do it at optimal timing whenever you want. There's no timing restrictions until you can sell high and buy low. And we're coming out with a book with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. He'll be in the book and a number of others. You can check that out, Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy. And we talk all about this and so much more. That being said, we're running out of time. Mr. Brian Grimes, are you ready for the lightning round?
I'm ready.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Brian, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
Don't give a contractor money in advance because they're going to run off with it. And that'll cost you $40,000 to $50,000 probably until you wake up.
Oh, gosh. And a lot of sleepless nights, right? 40 to 50. You gave it in advance and he just dart it. Wow.
The contractor game. I have a YouTube video on this, how to manage GCs, that talks about the contractor game and how almost every new real estate developer will go through an experience similar to this, where you get burned by a contractor and then you become your own GC because you realize you need to know the game. When you're coming from white collar and getting into this stuff, you don't understand blue collar. You think there's like an HR department, and there's not, right? This is a completely different game. So you need to understand the contractor game and how things work so that you don't get burned. But that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Thank you so much. Question number 2. What's the number 1 book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon will teach you everything that you need to know about wealth and how to grow wealth for yourself and pay yourself first. Definitely.
Cool. Question 3. What are you most curious about right now?
Most curious about co-living, really co-living in real estate, just seeing what's going on with Airbnb and, a lot of what I would call like hotel lobbying against Airbnb, but also this co-living trend of the affordable housing crisis and how we're going to solve it. And I think co-living, from what I've seen, is the real solution to the affordable housing crisis that almost no one talks about, knows about. It's still so new, but that I think is going to be the wave of the future. And I'm very heavily leaned towards co-living within my own practice.
Awesome. What's the number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
The main things to keep the main thing, the main thing. That was given to my father by his coach, who was a gold medalist 400-meter runner. My father was a All-American 400-meter runner, once the fastest college time at Rutgers University. And that's the mantra. The main things to keep the main thing, the main thing. Staying locked in on what you're doing. Like for me, I'm revitalizing C-class neighborhoods across America. I know there's 101 ways to make money in real estate, but my main thing is to keep my main thing the main thing. And when you stay locked in, there's a certain power in that a lot of us are too distracted by shiny things to explore.
I love it. Second to last question. The economy, things are kind of changing, right? It's kind of the sentiment that the tide has turned and it's kind of going that way. Interest rates are jumping quite a bit. What's just kind of your take on this next 3 to 6 to 12 months? It could be real estate, it could be stock market, it could just be economy as a whole. What's your thoughts on any of that?
I think we're looking at a reset from what the Fed is doing. They're working hard to reset things. I think as part of that, in particular, with when it comes to real estate, you have to keep in mind that this is a local game, right? So when they're talking to about real estate on the news, 4/5 of the homeowners are just like regular homeowners, mom and pop. They just want to have somewhere to live. 1/5 is are investors. We're part of that 1/5. They're not always talking to us. So when they speak very broadly, you have to realize these markets are extremely local. While California might be like super overpriced and seeing like, big drawdowns in price, Baltimore's not going to see that. Philly's not really going to see that. A lot of the Northeast isn't seeing that. So keep it local, do your research, and if you're going to be anything, go against the grain, because most people buy high and sell low.
Love it. This is great. All right, last question, Brian. And by the way, you can subscribe to Brian's YouTube channel, and that is Brian Loves Cash Flow. It's Brian Loves Cash Flow. You can also check him out at 247cashflowuniversity.com. So, Brian, last question. After all the people you've helped create and preserve more wealth, all the houses you've turned and revitalized, some of the parts of the cities that you've been in, the basketball you played, right, the success you had there. How do you stay centered? What's the one, maybe the habit you practice to stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Daily meditation. Daily meditation is probably the first thing I do every day. Is just kind of zero out, balance out, and then just working out. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? I learned that very early on in life through sports. If you're slacking in the classroom, you're going to slack on the court. How you do anything is how you do everything. So I always meditate to balance myself out, morning, noon, and night. And I try to work out. I do calisthenics as much as possible. I try to push myself physically, because when you push yourself physically, it becomes easier to push yourself in business and to stay locked in. So it's just part of me staying locked in, no distractions, no days off. I don't do a lot of vacations. I love what I do. So, for me, every day I get to wake up and have financial freedom from the 9 to 5. This is this is the ultimate vacation. I retired from the 9 to 5 at age 30. So, every day is just staying locked in on the mission. There's more people to help. There's more blighted neighborhoods to rebuild. And, I'm locked in because it's my main thing and I'm keeping it the main thing.
Brian Grimes, it's been more than a pleasure. I'm inspired. It's an honor to have you on the show. I know our audience is better for being able to have listened to your mission, your values, and what you're doing, which honestly it might be the number one crisis in America, right? I mean, these to housing, and on top of that, places that really need to be revitalized. And so you're on the front lines, and you're doing it in a way that enables you to get some financial freedom and help other people in the same time, which is amazing. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts that you've been given, which are communication and a fearlessness, right? To go out and keep your rhino skin intact and keep charging forward to reach new heights for people and for your family. And so that being said, everyone, you can find Brian at 247cashflowuniversity.com. You can check out his YouTube channel. And I also want to thank everybody who's listening right now to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. We're also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets. And we want to encourage you to create a plan and know that if you're going to sell something that's highly appreciated, it's going to be a capital gains tax. You want to have a plan for that. And the Deferred Sales Trust is an amazing solution for that. And you can check us out by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Check out the new book that's dropping here soon with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. He'll be in the book. And if we can help you in any way, we would love to help you out. And that being said, have a great rest of your day. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this with someone who can inspire today. And we will talk to you.